Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to make this beautiful granny stitch maxi dress. It is a combination of two designs of mine. There is the maxi skirt as well as the v-neck granny stitch top that are combined to make this beautiful dress. So you can choose your colors the way you want and play around with scrap yarn so that you can get amazing results. So make use of the timestamps to see what level you're at. Maybe you have the top but you don't have the skirt, or you have the skirt and you don't have the top yet. So choose your colors randomly the way you wish. Make sure you use up your scrap yarn, and I would like to see your creations. Make sure you tag me on Instagram. This is a made to measure piece, so it can be made to any size as long as you have your bust circumference, your waistline circumference, as well as the hip circumference. And then measure from your waistline all the way to the feet, that will be the skirt length. And then from your collarbone all the way to your waistline, that will be the top length. So those are the measurements that you'll need for this project. And when it comes to the yarn, I didn't keep track of how much yarn I used because I used scrap yarn. The materials that you'll need are yarn. The yarn that I'm using is Winter King. It's a 4-ply acrylic yarn, and I needed about 1.5 balls of this, and in total that is about 220 yards for the whole top because I'm making a crop top. The hook that I'm using is a 4mm crochet hook, a measuring tape, a darning needle, and a pair of scissors. That's all the materials that you'll need to make this beautiful and quick crochet project. So let's get started. If you would like the written pattern, it's already available on all my online shops, and I'll be leaving the link in the description box below, so make sure you check that out. So let's begin. Alright, so the measurements that you'll need for this top are so you're going to grab your yarn and you're going to make a slip knot. You're now going to make a chain of 5. This top is worked from top to bottom, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Once you have your 5 chains, you're going to go into the very first chain that you made, this one, and you're going to place a double crochet there, and then double crochet again into the same exact chain. So that means we've placed 2 double crochets into the same chain, and you're going to make a chain of 1 and double crochet into the same exact chain. So this marks the end of row 1. So we have a chain of 4 here, then 2 double crochets, and then chain 1 and 1 double crochet. So this is the top. This is where we are now, here. This is the top of our tank top or the v-neck top. Row 2, you're going to start off with a chain of 4, turn your work, and then go into the very first chain 1 space here, and you're going to place 2 double crochets. The chain 4 at the beginning of the row counts as a double crochet chain 1. Don't forget that. So we've placed 2 double crochets into the very first chain 1 space, chain 1 into the last space. You're going to skip over the 2 double crochets, and into the last space you're going to place 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 1 more double crochet into the same space. So this marks the end of row 2. This is what you should have. Then row 3, you're going to start off with a chain of 4, turn your work, go into the very first chain 1 space with 2 double crochets. After the first 2 double crochets, you're going to make a chain of 1, go into the next chain 1 space with 2 double crochets, chain 1, and into the last space, which is this one, you're going to go in there with 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 1 more double crochet. So this marks the end of row 3. Row 4, we're basically just going to repeat row 3. So make a chain of 4, which counts as a double crochet, chain 1, turn your work, 2 double crochets into the very first chain 1 space, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, and then into the very last space you're going to place 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 1 more double crochet into the same space. So you should be noticing a triangular shape starting to form. So let me explain row 5 and then you'll pick it up from there. Row 5, you start off with a chain of 4, turn your work, the chain of 4 counts as a double crochet, chain 1, then into the first chain 1 space you're placing 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and you're going to repeat that, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space until you come towards the end of the row, when you place 2 double crochets into the last chain 1 space here, and then you're going to make a chain of 1, and into the last space, which is supposed to be a chain 4 space, you're going to go in there with 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 1 more double crochet into the same exact space. So we're going to repeat this row again and again until the base of our triangle measures quarter of our bust measurement. So for me, the measurement that I'm considering for this design is 32 inches and quarter of it is 8 inches. So I'm going to keep working and expanding my triangle so that I get to a point where the base measures 32 divided by 4, which is 8 inches. So I should be having a total of 8 inches at the base of my triangle. But for now, I have a total of 4 inches. So that means I'm still growing the triangle wider. Alright guys, so I continued to repeat the same exact row until I had a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. But that doesn't matter. You can do as many rows as you wish, as long as the base of the triangle measures quarter of your bust measurement. As you can see here, the bust measurement that I'm considering is 32 inches, and that divided by 4 is 8 inches. So whatever your full bust measurement is, you're going to divide it by 4, and the number that you get should be the measurement at the base of your triangle, regardless of what yarn that you used, or your tension, or your hook. Make sure the base of your triangle measures quarter of your bust measurement. So once you finish your very last stitch, you're going to make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn, leaving a tail behind. Pull through. So you're going to go ahead and make a second identical piece to this. I've already made mine, and you can see where I am right now. So for the second piece, we're going to change a few things. Instead of chaining 1 and placing 1 more double crochet into the same space, we're going to remove that 1 double crochet, and after your chain of 1, we're going to join this piece together. After your chain of 1, you're going to slip stitch into this chain 4 space on this side to join the 2 pieces together, as you can see here. So we have joined the 2 triangles. Make sure you have the same exact number of rows on both ends, and then from here you're going to make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn, leaving a tail behind. Pull through. So what we've done here is we have joined the 2 triangles together. Now we are going to go ahead and continue working our piece. You're going to turn your work so that you're working in the opposite direction of the previous round. The previous row, sorry. You're going to continue working, but in the opposite direction of the previous row. So that means we're going to attach our yarn into the very first stitch here where we have a loose end. Attach there and then make a chain of 4. Go into the very first chain 1 space and place 2 double crochets. So we've gone back to the original pattern. Chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and we are going to repeat that all the way across until we get to the middle section, and I'll meet you back at that point. Alright, now we've reached the middle section. As you can see here, we've come all the way from this side and we've reached the middle section. And here we only have 1 chain 1 space. We don't have a chain 1 space on this side, so this is the one we shall continue to consider for the middle part. We shall go into this chain 1 space here and place 2 double crochets. And then from here you're going to make a chain of 1 and go into the next chain 1 space. That's all. And then you're going to continue with the same pattern, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, all the way across until the very last chain 1 space on the opposite side. All right, so we're coming to the end of the row, and you're going to make a chain of 1, and into the last chain 1 space here, you're going to place 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 1 more double crochet into the same space. So we've gone back to the same exact pattern that we were working before. So for this row, you're going to work across both panels. But from there onwards, we are going back to this same exact pattern of increasing both on this side and on this side. And we are going to do that until this measurement is our waistline measurement when stretched. So far we have 15 inches, but when we stretch it, it goes to around 19 to 20 inches. Don't stretch fully because you want some room for stretch, but just slightly stretch it. I have 19 inches so far, so my intended measurement for the waistline is about 26 to 28 inches. And I'm going to continue working this until the base of my panel is that measurement when slightly stretched. So just to remind you of what to do, you're going to make a chain of 4, turn your work, and you're going to go into the very first chain 1 space with 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and you're going to repeat that all the way across. So when you get to the end, don't forget, when you make it all the way across, at the end you place 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 1 more double crochet into the last space. And you're going to repeat that row until you have your desired measurement for your waistline. So just a quick update of how everything should be looking like. You should still be increasing on the edges of your panel. As you can see, the slant is still going on, and here everything is looking nice and neat. So this is still continuing to widen until we get our waistline measurement when stretched. Not fully, but slightly stretched. Alright guys, so in order to get my intended waist measurement, as you can see, when I don't stretch it, it's at 23 inches. When I stretch it slightly, it goes to 26 to 28 inches, which was my intended waistline measurement. So not fully stretched, make sure I do that. So I ended up doing a total of 10 rows from this point where I joined the two panels together. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 rows. So from here, we're going to stop increasing at the end of the panel. So to do that, you're going to make a chain of 3, turn your work. This time, it's not a chain of 4. Chain 3, 1 double crochet into the very first chain 1 space. Like that, chain 1. 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. So this is what it should look like. So you're going to repeat that, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next, and repeat that all the way across until towards the end of the row, and I'll show you what to do at the end of the row. So we're coming to the end of the row, and I'm going to make a chain of 1, and into the very last space you're going to only place 2 double crochets there. So our main intention is to stop increasing towards this side. As you can see, the direction of the panel has already changed. We're now creating a flat edge. So let's go on to row 2 of no increases. You're going to make a chain of 4, turn your work, and you're going to go into the next chain 1 space with 2 double crochets, just like that. So this is going to create a straight edge on your panel. We are no longer going in a slanting way. We are now creating straight edges on both ends. As you can see here, the direction has also changed here. So chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and repeat that until towards the end of the row, where I'll show you how to wind up. So we're coming to the end of row 2 of no increases, and I'm placing 2 double crochets into the very last chain 1 space, and then from here I'm going to make a chain of 1, skip over the next stitch, and go on top of the last chain 3 with 1 double crochet. So we've balanced what we have here and what we have at the beginning of the row. Remember, we started with a chain of 4 and we end with chain 1, 1 double crochet. So the chain of 4 at the beginning of the row counts as 1 double crochet, chain 1. So you have to balance what you have at the beginning and at the end of the row. So let's go on to row 3 of the non-increase rows. So you're going to make a chain of 3, turn your work, 1 double crochet into the very first chain 1 space, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. So this 1 double crochet counts as 2 double crochets here because the chain 3 counts as a double crochet. So chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and repeat that all the way across, and I'll meet you back at the end of the row. This is row 3 of the non-increase rows. So you can see how the direction has been changed from this to this. Alright, so we're coming to the end of row 3 of the non-increase rows, and I'm placing 2 double crochets in this chain 1 space, and then I'm going to make a chain of 1, and into the very last space, which is this one, the chain of 4, you're going to place 2 double crochets, and that marks the end of row 3. So remember, at the beginning we have 2 double crochets into the very first space because the chain 3 counts as a double crochet, and then we end with 2 double crochets on the edge. So we're going to keep repeating rows 2 and 3, 2 and 3 until 2 and 3 of the non-increased rows, sorry. Repeat rows 2 and 3 of the non-increased rows until the measurement from the top corner here all the way down here is from your collarbone all the way down to your waistline. And then I'll meet you back when I have mine ready. Right, just for reference purposes, my intended measurement from the collarbone all the way down to my waistline, I am looking at around 13 inches. So you can see I still have about 1.5 inches to go. So I'm going to do about 2 more rows or 3 in order to get my 13 inches, and then I'll come back to show you what everything looks like. So I'm measuring from the top corner of one of the bra cups all the way down. So I'm not yet at 13 inches, which is my intended measurement for that part from the collarbone all the way to the waistline. So take your measurements and see where you have to stop. So repeat rows 2 and 3 until you have that measurement correct, and then I'll come back and show you what to do next. Okay, so I got my intended measurement all the way from up here to down here, which was 13 inches. And you can go ahead and make a longer one if you wish to make your top longer. But for me, this is the length that I'm considering. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all these loose ends, either using a darning needle or just tying the 2 strands that we get at each point. So I'll weave these in using a darning needle later on. So this is what we have. You can see the flat edge on the sides, and then you're going to fold over your work like this, and you can see how the top looks like. Now we're going to attach straps on the top corners of our top, and we're going to just use a normal basic chain. So you can choose to use 2 strands if you wish for your straps to be a little bit thicker, but for me I want spaghetti straps, which are the thin ones. So I'll just attach my yarn in one of the corners just like this, and then make a single crochet into the same exact space, and then I'll go ahead to make a total of about 250 chains or 200 chains. Alright, so I ended up with 200 chains, and this was just enough. And then I'm going to make 1 more chain and cut my yarn, pull through, cut off the excess strand, and then you get rid of the loose ends. Alright, so we're going to repeat the same exact process for the opposite side. So this is what we have for the first side, and this is our strap for this side. So repeat the same exact process for this side and make the same exact number of chains as you have on this side. So I had 200, and I'm going to attach my yarn and do a total of 200 chains on this side as well. Alright, now I'm through with my second strap, and this is what we have. So this is the front side of my work, as you can see. And then when it comes to the back, when I turn my work to the back side, we have an open side. So we're going to lace up the back. You're going to bring this strap from this side and the one from this side to create an X, as you can see here. And then you're going to go into the very last row, the second last row of increases. So this was the very last row of increase, so I'll go into the second last, row of increase, and I'll lace up my straps just like this to form an X. And then you're going to skip a few rows. You can skip 1 or 2 rows and then lace up the next row just like this. Like that. And then go into the very last row after skipping a row or 2. So depending on the number of rows that you have, this is going to be personalized to your own liking. And then from here, once you lace up the very last row, you're going to just make a knot like that. And then that's it for today's video, guys. This is how the lace up at the back looks like, and when you turn your work to the front side, it will be like this. We won't be seeing these straps because they'll be at the back, so your top will basically look like this. So for the materials, you'll need yarn. I'll be switching between a DK weight yarn and a double strand of fingering weight yarn. So some colors you'll see me using a double strand, and then for some colors I used 1 strand of DK weight so that I can get something that's almost the same thickness. So you'll need yarn, several colors, and then you'll also need a 4mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors, a darning needle to weave in your ends, and a measuring tape. So take your waistline measurement and grab your 4mm crochet hook. We're going to start off with our very first color, and this is the color that we're going to start off with. 2 strands of light fingering weight yarn. So you're going to start off with a slip knot, and you're going to make a chain that can wrap around our waistline comfortably without stretching. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and keep chaining until you get a chain that's the length of your waistline circumference without stretching. Guys, I've made a total of 120 chains, and you should be having a multiple of 3. Your starting chain should be a multiple of 3. And this gave me my intended waistline measurement. So as you can see, my intended waistline measurement is 28 inches. And that gave me that measurement. But when I fully stretch, it can even go up to 34 inches. But I'm considering the waist measurement without stretching, so you can see it's almost there, but with the stretch it goes way beyond that. So you're going to make sure that your foundation chain is not twisted, and you're going to slip stitch into the very first chain. Insert your hook and pull through all, just like that. So you're going to create this circular loop. Now from here, we're going to go on to round 1. For round 1, you're going to make a chain of 3, which counts as our very first double crochet. And you're going to go into the same exact chain with 1 double crochet. So that counts as 2 double crochets into 1 chain. And then you're going to make a chain of 1, skip over 2 chains, 1, 2, and into the next chain, you're going to place 2 double crochets. Chain 1, skip 2 chains, 2 double crochets into the next chain, and that's the repeat for this round. You're going to go all the way around, repeating this, chain 1, skip 2 chains and 2 double crochets into the next chain. So repeat this all the way around, and I'll meet you back towards the beginning of our round and I show you how to wind up. So we are almost coming to the end of the round, and I'm still chaining 1, skipping 2 chains and into the next chain, 2 double crochets. And then you should be left with 2 chains on your row. You're going to skip over them and make a chain of 1 and slip stitch into the top of the very first double crochet, or the chain 3 at the beginning of the round. So just slip stitch on top of the chain 3, and that marks the end of round 1. You should be having something that looks like this. Now remember, we have considered our waistline measurement. Now we're going to start making increases on the sides of the skirt until we get our hip circumference, because this skirt is supposed to fit well around the waist as well as fit into the hips. The hip circumference is usually wider than the waistline circumference. So you're going to just place your work like this. Make sure that this starting point is in the middle, and you're going to just eyeball and locate chain 1 spaces on the sides of the skirt. So just like that, and then place another one on the opposite side. Just make sure they are balanced. Something like this. So after doing this and placing these stitch markers, we're now going to go on to the next step. We're going on to round 2. You're going to make a chain of 3, which counts as our very first double crochet. Turn your work and then place 1 more double crochet into the same chain 1 space. So this counts as 2 double crochets into this space, and then chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. Chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and you're going to repeat that until we get to the first stitch marker, which is this one. All right, when you get to the chain 1 space that has the very first stitch marker, which is this one, you're going to remove the stitch marker, and then into that space that had the stitch marker, you're going to make a chain of 1, and you're going to make an increase. So you're going to place 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 more double crochets into the same exact space. So this is an increase at this point. From here, you're going to make a chain of 1 and 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and you're going to repeat this until we get to our next stitch marker, which is this one. And we're supposed to create an increase just like we've done here. So if you feel like you may miss this point, make sure you place your stitch marker back into the chain 1 space of the increase. Just place it back so that you don't lose track of this point, because we are going to increase at this point all the time until we get our hip circumference. So chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. Repeat that until we get to the next stitch marker. Right, so we've reached the next stitch marker. You're going to remove it, and into that space we are going to create an increase. So you're going to make a chain of 1, and into the space that had the stitch marker you're going to place 2 double crochets, chain 2 and 2 more double crochets, and then you're going to place your stitch marker back into the chain 2 space of the increased stitch. From here you're going to just continue to make a chain of 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and repeat that all the way to the end of the round. We've come to the end of the round and we've placed 2 double crochets into the very last chain 1 space of the round. You're going to make a chain of 1 and slip stitch into the top of the first chain 3 of the round. Just slip stitch there. Now we're going to repeat round 2 again and again. Let's see what we have so far. My intended hip circumference is 40 inches, and what we have here is about 15 inches. I don't want to fully stretch my work because I don't want very stretched out stitches, so I have about 15 inches and I have to get to 20 inches eventually because we are considering this side and the opposite side to make a total of 40. So when you place your work like this and you measure it, you should be having half your hip circumference measurement when slightly stretched. So you can see I have 15 and my intended hip circumference is 40 inches. So 40 divided by 2 is 20. So my goal is to get to 20 inches. So I still have 5 more inches to go before I stop increasing. So I'm going to go ahead and keep repeating round 2 until I get my intended hip circumference. And when I get to a point when I'm going to change the colors, I'll come back and let you I teach you how to do that. Now remember, we are just making a chain of 3, which counts as a double crochet. Turn your work and double crochet into the same exact chain 1 space. That's how we begin our round. Chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and repeat that all the way across until you get to the increase stitch. When you get to this space, you create an increase into this space just like we've done here, and then go back to the original pattern until you get to the next increase, where you will create an increase as well, and then go back to the original pattern until the end of the round. Chain 3, turn your work and keep working around again and again until you get your intended hip circumference. Guys, as you keep working your round 2, you should notice that your skirt is taking shape and it's creating room for the hip circumference. And I am currently on row 8 and I'm winding up round 8, sorry, not row 8, round 8, and I'm chaining 1 and slip stitching into the top of the first chain 3 of the round. So I'm going to demonstrate how to switch colors. Once you get done with one color, you're going to make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn, pull through. So that is the end of this color. I'm going to attach my next color, and the fact that I'm working in the opposite direction of the previous round, I'm going to make sure I turn my work, and I'm going to introduce my next color, which is army green. All right, so introduce your next color, and you're going to attach it. You're going to turn your work so that you're in the opposite direction of the previous round, and attach it right after this tail. So in that chain 1 space, you're going to attach your yarn and then make a chain of 2, which counts as our very first double crochet. I'm making a chain of 2 because this attaching chain counts as one of the chains. So basically we have a chain of 3. So after this, you're going to go into the same space with 1 double crochet, and then you're going to go ahead and chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and you're going to go back to the original pattern that increases on the sides if you haven't yet achieved your hip circumference. But for me, I have finished the increases. As you can see, we are running from 0 to 17, but when stretched, it can get to 20 inches. When slightly stretched, you don't want to overstretch your work so that the stitches even lose shape. So I did a total of 8 rounds in order to get my 20 inches across. 20 times 2, because these are 2 layers. We are getting our 40 inches, which is our intended hip circumference. And from there, you're going to now make a round of no increase. So the fact that I have finished my increase rounds, this is my very first round of no increase. You're going to continue to make 2 double crochets in the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 2 double crochets until you get to the increase point. And I'll show you what to do from there. All right, so when you get to the very first increase, we are no longer going to increase in this space. So instead, you're going to make a chain of 1, and instead of creating an increase here, just like we've been doing before, you're going to only place 2 double crochets, just like we are doing for these other spaces. And then you're going to make a chain of 1 and go into the next chain 1 space with 2 double crochets. So this time we haven't increased at this spot. And this is what's going to happen from now onwards, because we are no longer going to increase. So chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. You're going to repeat that all the way across until you get to the next increase, where you will only place 2 double crochets in this space as well, just like we've done on this side. And then wind up your round until the end of the round, and I'll meet you back at the end of this round. So we've come to the end of the round, and I'm placing my last 2 double crochets into the last chain 1 space. From here, I'm going to make a chain of 1 and slip stitch on top of the very first chain 3 of the round. And it's time for me to switch colors. You're going to switch colors the way you wish. At any point you can switch colors. So for me, I'm going to go onto my white color, and just like I did for the green color, you're going to just turn your work onto the opposite direction of the previous round, and then attach your yarn into the chain 1 space after the tail that you've left behind on the previous color. Attach your yarn here, chain 2, and then 1 more double crochet into the space. And then you're going to make a chain of 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. And this is the repeat round. You're going to just chain 1, 2 double crochets into the next chain 1 space all the way around, since we are no longer increasing. And then when it comes to the end, you just make a chain of 1 and slip stitch into the top of the first chain 3 of the round. And you're going to keep repeating and play around with your scrap yarn in order to get very beautiful effects. This is a very perfect project for scrap yarn or any yarn that has been lying around and you're just wondering what to use it for. But pick your colors wisely. So I'm going to go ahead and keep working this round, and I'll let you know how many rounds that I'll have done for my skirt at the end of my project. And yeah, later on we shall learn how to wind up and attach a waistband or finalize the waist area of the skirt in order to create a perfect fitting for it. So keep working this until you get your desired skirt length. So you should see a bulge somewhere around the side of the skirt where we were placing increases before, but don't worry about that, it will correct itself later on. So this is what we have right now. So keep working and keep pushing the length of your skirt until you get your desired length. Alright guys, we ended up doing a total of 80 rounds all together, and this is what our skirt looks like. You'll see it later on when we are done with everything. So once you get the length of the skirt that you want, I did mine up to the feet, and right now I've cut some strings for the fringe and they're about 8 inches. So I'm going to get two strands, and I'm going to attach in each chain one space at the base of the skirt. So go all the way around, attaching this, and then we shall see the effect that's created. If we need to add some more fringes at the base, I'll let you know what to do after this. Alright guys, I think the fringe is too spaced, so I'll also add 2 strands in between the double crochet stitches. So you go into each chain one space and in between the double crochet stitches so that we can close up that gap. In between the 2 double crochets, and you also attach a fringe. So you can see how closely placed they are now. I think I prefer this look to the previous one. So you're going to go around the base of the skirt doing this until you come back to the beginning, all the way around. Alright guys, after your fringe, you're going to go onto the top of the skirt and you're going to make a normal chain of around 200 chains, and you're going to get your darning needle. Now we are going to place this drawstring. This is going to act as a drawstring so that we can adjust the waist to either tight or loose, depending on what fitting that you're going for. So locate the back of the skirt. The back of the skirt is the one with the seam line at the back, or the one that has the loose ends. So you're going to turn your work onto the front part and locate the exact middle of the skirt, and then you go in and out of every chain to space, just like this. In and out of every chain to space. So do that all the way around and come back to the middle of the skirt. All right, we are back to the middle front of the skirt, and from here you're going to just make a knot, just like this, and you're going to go ahead and cut off the excess yarn of your drawstring. Alright guys, now that we are through with both the top and the skirt, we are now going to put everything together. So you're going to introduce your top, you're going to fold it into half and locate the exact middle of the top. Alright, after folding your top into half, you're going to locate the exact middle of the top and you're going to place a stitch marker there. So as I had mentioned earlier on, we picked one color from the skirt, and this is the color that I picked to be the color of the top. Now I've marked the exact middle of the top using my stitch marker, but at the base of the top. Now we're going to go ahead and attach our top onto the skirt, and what we are going to do is we are going to go into the chain spaces and we're just going to align them. So this chain of 2 into the chain of 1 on the top, and we're going to be placing 2 single crochets in each and every space all the way to the back of the skirt. So you're going to get one of the colors and you're going to start attaching. So you're going to flip over your work onto the wrong side, just like this, and you're going to start attaching into the chain spaces. So I'll be using mustard yellow and I'm going to go into the chain spaces. So what you're going to do is leave a very long tail to work on the second half of the piece, and then we're going to start attaching into the spaces. So 2 single crochets in the spaces all the way towards the back of the skirt. Alright, so I'm placing my very last 2 single crochets into the last chain space, and then you're going to make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn. Now we're going to go back to the tail that we left in the middle and do the same exact thing on the opposite side. So I'm going to just turn my work because I'm right-handed, and I'm going to start attaching in every chain space, placing 2 single crochets. So keep in mind that we are working this single crochet stitch on the wrong side of our work. All right, so I'm placing my last 2 single crochets into the very last chain space. Chain 1 and cut your yarn. Pull through. So this is what we have at the back of our dress. Look at the shaping of the dress. We have our waistline defined. And another thing that you're going to do is to pull out the drawstring of the skirt because we no longer need it. We shall use the straps of the top to cater for the waistline shaping. So this is how our dress is shaped. And guys, this is how our final dress turned out. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure you give it a thumbs up if you did, and make sure you leave a comment down below to let me know what you thought about this tutorial. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.